Hey guys, Scott from Realistic Outdoors. Pretty exciting time. Fall is here. That means the ice fishing season is right around the corner. And I'm so stoked that this camper is ready to go. We're getting close here in the filming. The walls are up. And in this episode, we're gonna put the doors on, or the door. There's not two. The door on, the windows in, the skins are up, and they are ready to go. So we're so close to the roof. Stay with me on this episode, and we're gonna be so close to buttoning this thing up. And oh, this is so exciting. So as you can see in the background, fall has happened, and that means only one thing: I'm so close to winter. I'm a winter guy, and I love this winter camper. I am so stoked. I hope you guys are able to build one yourself. So far, this is the first one that I've seen, although I did see somebody convert one on the internet, and he did a very good job. And shout out to that guy, Drew, I believe his name is. Way to go, Drew. And so anyway, stay with me, you guys, on this episode, and you're gonna love it. I'm Scott from Realistic Outdoors.
Let's jump right in here. Everybody's got some of these spare foam mats lying around, so I decided I'm going to use these to insulate the inside of my door. Why not? It'll actually kind of soundproof it, and it'll increase the warmth and the R values. So I just cut the squares off. I built up the edge of the door to accommodate for the size of the squares, and then I glued them in. I put a weight on it and glued them overnight. And then I glued an entire board to cover the whole thing, just so that, and it won't matter, I'm going to use the exact screws here, but countersink them because I'm going to put the skin over top. So it didn't really matter that I was using kind of a gross piece of wood, so it was nice to find a piece I could use. Once that was all dried up, I just routed the edges, trim them all up, make them one nice even size. I will mention here that the main part of the door was the piece that I cut out of the plywood when I cut the main door out, and I used my little skinny saw there so I could get the exact cut, so I didn't have to drill any holes. Now I'm just gonna very carefully measure where I want this window to sit, get out my speed square and make sure it's exact all the way around, and then I'm just gonna trace it out, and then I'm gonna trace the difference on the inside of the lip on the inside of my drawing, so that I can cut the right size hole without the whole window falling through, which is a bad thing. So measure 72 times, cut once. So you see here I'm using the speed square just to check how much the offset is from the outside of where I drew it to where the inside needs to be cut, and I'm going to come back and use that square and mark the inside all the way around of that existing drawing that I put in there, and that will be my cut line. Okay, the door latch came with a little gasket, so I'm using the gasket to measure out what I need to cut. So then I connected that and drew around it, and I gotta tell you, I have no idea what I'm doing here at this point, and it's just a matter of, geez, don't make any mistakes at this point, because you don't want to, cut a latch hole too big. So I was very careful to think about it. I did a lot of humming and hawing here, but what I would say is, cut them small, and then just keep adding little cuts as you go until it fits, because you don't want too big of a hole in this place. Here's a bunch of that humming and hawing I talked about earlier. Sometimes it's necessary. You really have to think outside the box, because once you've made the cut, that's it. It's too late. So I can't really give you too much advice here because I really was just, grasping at straws and doing the best I could. Just keep sizing it up, cut a little more, size it up, cut a little more. And at some point here, I realized that I was hoping to be able to dip it into the hole like that, but it didn't fit. So I ended up just cutting that piece off with a jigsaw and then filling it up with a piece of aluminum later. So it is just do your best to try and get it in there and just take small cuts at a time. And there we go. I got her in. By the way, it was not 100% square when the glue dried. So at that point I was like, it's only a tiny bit off. I'm not going to worry about it that much. Now I have the skin glued on to the door on the other side. And now I'm just going to round the edge to make it nice and smooth and true to the door size. And maybe just kind of remove just a tiny bit of wood at the same time because I'm going to need a little bit of space for the aluminum that I'm going to put in for the edging around the door. And now that I have the piece all trimmed around, I'm going to cut this little piece out and glue in my door latch. And like I mentioned, it's just a tiny bit out of square. It worked perfect. It didn't affect the use at all, and I didn't want to unglue it and then have to do all this work again. I was afraid I was going to damage the birch plywood, so I left it as it was. It really was just a relief that it was in. It worked, and I didn't cut too much off of any other spot. So now I'm just going to drill a hole where the window goes and use the router and just trim that all out. And just a tiny bit more there. Now that's all trimmed out. I'll be able to just put the window right in. This should be awesome. Now just a tiny little bit of touch up and some sanding just to smooth it out. It's always nice to do that just so you don't cut your fingers. Now just a quick sand on the walls before I get ready to install the composite siding, which I am so stoked at this point to get on. I couldn't believe it was already there. It really didn't take long to get to this point, and I gotta tell you, it was very exhilarating to be at this point right now. Just trying to be cautious with the sanding that there's no actual high spots on the wood or any kind of knots that were sticking out, because I didn't want to actually damage the composite, and there was a little bit of a bump there that I didn't like, and so I just worked it for a while. I peeled off the plastic and then I gave it a quick sand to give something for the PL400 to bite onto, which I forgot to video, and you can see it's already on the camper in the pink there, and now I just stick this on there. I had concerns that it would come loose with the amount of shaking and bouncing that this camper is going to do on the ice and when I'm dragging it. So what I've decided was I'm just going to put screws all the way around the edge, and that extra piece of board that you seen that was right around where I am now, I installed that so that I could actually put a couple screws down the center of that panel to keep it from flopping and bouncing off of the foam board there. So now I'm just going to screw it, and I'm not too worried about the screws at this point because I'm using those ultra flat screws I showed you earlier, and I'm using my casing to go all around the edge that I'm going to make, and I'm going to pull out the original screws and then put the actual trim back in using the same screws and screw holes. So it should work out okay. I'm just using a piece of trim here so that I can mark where the outside edges of where I can put the screws, so make sure that they're covered when the casing goes back on, and that I can use the existing screw hole to cover the casing. So this piece is a tiny bit out of order. You can see the hole isn't cut for this. I believe I took it right outside at this point and cut the hole in it. And somewhere along the line, I missed where I actually put the window back in. But I do have a quick installation. So I stuck it in there, I put some shims on it all the way around to keep a good space. And then I screwed the hinges in just temporarily so that I can get an idea of what I need to do. And it turns out I will need to remove a little bit extra wood around, all the way around, so that I can get my trim inside. And now I'm just tracing in where the striker plates need to go, because I'll have to do a little bit of cutting in there to get those out and get the striker plates in. Again, with some of the tool love, this little saw was excellent for just kind of getting in and nibbling out a little bit of wood just a little bit at a time without destroying everything. It was fantastic for the job. This thing has done so many things in this project, it's crazy. You all should get one of these if you don't have one. And there you caught me, sitting down on the job. But it put it better at an eye level. And bending over sucks. So, there you go. Now I got the latch to work. Pretty happy at this moment. Not sure where the video went of me sticking the window in, but I used butyl tape all the way around this window before I stuck it in here. In case you've never used it, it's just like it's an adult plasticine is what it is, but it is making it watertight, and it kind of keeps the cold air out. You can see the gap there by the handle on the outside, but I worked that out because I am going to be putting trim around the inside, so it was going to cover that anyway, so I wasn't too worried about it. At this point, the window was just in temporarily. I probably just had a small piece of block wood inside that I had screwed it to keep it from falling out, because I have full intentions of building some nice cedar bezel to go all the way around to finish off the little bit of gap that's between the actual thickness of the window itself and the actual thickness of the camper, because my walls were, I think, 1 3/4 inches, maybe 1.5 inches, and the windows were 2 inch, so I had to fill in the gap. I will be showing you how to do those in an upcoming episode, very detailed, and it turned out absolutely gorgeous. So basically just a rinse and repeat on the other side, get the side up and get it exactly where I need to, a little tweaking, put one screw in, move it around, up and down, and then once I got it exactly where I needed it, I was able to get all the screws in it. I put clamps on the bottom again just to keep the sheet itself up so it wouldn't slide when I took my hands off it, and I didn't have all the great places to clamp it. So now that I found the perfect spot, I am going to put a whole bunch of screws here, and that's it. And then we're getting ready for the actual final roof, the fiberglass. This is cool. Looking good, looking good. Okay, just getting all the screws in about a foot apart, just like on the other side. And I used the bracket piece there, so I know that my screw will be covered by the actual trim that I put up there. Just want to be cautious of that. I didn't want it sticking out, or I didn't want the trim sitting on it, or any exposed holes. So took my time, measured that space every time, and got all the screws in. Get them into place. This thing is awesome.
Hey guys, thanks for hanging out this long. It was a good episode. We're really close now. The thing is, I made a few boo-boos. We worked around them and that was okay. And it is a little bit of a, you know, you can't follow exactly the rules. And I'm just kind of guessing as I go along on some of these items. Some of the stuff I bought didn't have a lot of instructions, so it was just work around it. But I really appreciate you guys hanging out this far. Any of the subscribers that have newly subscribed, thank you. And if you haven't already, please take this moment to subscribe. Click that button down below and then hit that bell and be notified of the next one, because the next one is a big, massive setback. And I'd like to save you guys that trouble if you're having any, or if you're building this camper. This will save you a lot of trouble and expense. So stay tuned for that next episode. It'll probably be sad while I'm editing it, because it was a major setback, but I beat it and it's done and it's fantastic. So again, you guys, look, fall, sweet, winter's coming. You'll see me on the ice very soon. I'm Scott from Realistic Outdoors. Thanks for watching.